Good evening. Welcome to this District 4 webinar, High Performance Leadership. My name is Ken Cawley. I'm your presenter this evening. My primary role in the district right now, where I'm a past district governor and a past international director, my primary role with District 4 right now is as the webmaster. I've held that role for, I think, close to 15 years now. And the last couple of years, I've acted as the Chief Pathways Ambassador, rolling out the new program. If you're like many Toastmasters, when you're starting to think about your distinguished Toastmaster role, you're getting to that point, you're starting to think, how close am I? You sit down and you start looking through, what have you accomplished so far? Right off the bat, you check off, you've got your competent communicator. Maybe you've gotten your advanced communicator bronze, advanced communicator silver, advanced communicator gold. You just checking the boxes, making sure that you've fulfilled all the requirements. And then you start looking at the leadership roles, competent leader, advanced leader bronze, and then you hit advanced leader silver and find out you missed one big thing. And this is becoming a big question, especially those who are looking at finishing up the educational program before moving into pathways. Are they going to be finished in time when we switch over to pathways? What is that one thing that is stopping most people? Well, it actually is the high performance leadership. And there's a tendency to rush this. I find it to be a great shame because it's one of the really, really great things that is offered through Toastmasters as far as leadership development. But unfortunately, so many people look at it so late, they want to find what's the quickest way to get through it. So what I'm going to talk about this evening, first off, is what it is, but what you can gain from it if you really go through the program and really take advantage of it rather than just rushing through to check the box. So what is the HPL, the High Performance Leadership? Well, obviously with the name, it's a leadership development program. That's an easy one. And it provides us instructions and practice and these skills and activities that you see here. We're going to go through these as we go through the program. It's a 3-step process, and we'll look at that process. It's a project that there's 5 parts of, but the one thing that I think most people make a mistake on is they focus on the project rather than the leadership, and we'll talk about that quite a bit. It is about the project, but it's about the leadership development, not just getting through a project. Speaking of the project, it's a project of your own choosing. We'll talk about some ideas at the end, some ideas on what would make a good project. And as we just went through in the last slide, it's a path to DTM. And under the legacy program, it's a requirement for the advanced leader silver goal. It's a goal for advanced leader silver. And once you complete it, you get the Leadership Excellence Award. And then typically you pull together all your requirements and then submit for your Distinguished Toastmaster. But it's an important enough a program that it actually has been embedded within pathways also. Just as it's usually the last thing you do for the Legacy Communication and Leadership program, in pathways, under level 5, which is the last level, demonstrating expertise, under the 10 different paths you can go for that you can choose, 3 of them, it's a requirement, and then another 7, it's an elective you could do for your last level. That's how important HPL is that they've kept it in place as we move into the new educational program. So as I mentioned, it's a 3-step process. So first we've got study. You're going to cycle through these over and over again for all 5 of the different projects, or the different steps, So first off, you're going to study. You'll be reading through materials provided by Toastmasters International, and it's things that should be learned and sets out ways to go about achieving your end result for that section. And then you have the action. This section contains some easy steps when planning your actions and considering other things that you need to do to complete the section that you're looking at. And then finally, there's feedback. And you'll be getting feedback from a group of mentors that are called your guidance committee. And then they'll work with you to make sure that you reach the goals of each step, each of the parts. And then you'll convene a meeting at the end of each of those to meet with your guidance committee and discuss what has been done. And then they'll give you the feedback to help you continue on with the project. So the guidance committee itself, well, they're mentors. And whether you're working a Toastmaster project or a project for your community or job, a team of mentors with specialized knowledge and skills are necessary. You get to choose these. You choose who they are. It's not that this committee is named for you. And it should be made up by a group of individuals whose opinions you respect and whose experience will help you in your specific project. You want to think about someone who may have some background in the project that you're doing. And the goals of this committee is to provide you guidance and advise you to help you get organized, focus on your project, and evaluate your leadership style and decisions as you work through the projects. So you see here, they don't all need to be Toastmasters. That's where if you're looking for somebody in a specific knowledge area, you may invite somebody who has a background in that to be one of your mentors or on your guidance committee. And you must meet with them at least 5 times during the project. So as I mentioned, it's a 5-part program. And these are the 5 parts. We're going to go through each of these in detail. The first one's learning about leadership. And that's where you really spend your most time going through things and looking at your own leadership style and what is leadership. And one of the things we're going to be doing is looking very deeply at what makes an effective leader. So just as with our speaking skills, we can improve our leadership skills only when we learn through the evaluation process. That's the evaluation of the support you get from your guidance committee. And then what elements we need to enhance. So the first thing you'll be doing with this first step is you'll be assessing your knowledge of leadership, and then you'll learn more about leadership. So you'll do a survey, like a self-assessment, to look at where you are, what type of leader you are, because there's many different styles of leaders. In fact, there's 6 dimensions that make up effective leadership. That's vision and values, direction, persuasion, support, development, and appreciation. And you get to see where you are within these dimensions. As leaders, we all may lean one direction or another. So you're going to assess your leadership skills, what you know about leadership, and where you are within those dimensions of effective leadership. And then from there, you want to develop a list of leadership projects. And once you know your areas of strength and which areas you need improvement, then you can start designing your project for the best outcome. And then we may choose to work on our weaker areas, or we may choose to delegate those areas to others. You pretty much make that decision as you're thinking about your project. You'll be recruiting a guidance committee. I've talked about what that committee is. We'll get into a little more detail on it. And then you're going to meet with your guidance committee and select a project. So that's the first step. Then we go on to choosing your objectives. So no project will succeed unless everyone knows what they're doing and why. So because of that, you're going to develop and describe your vision for your project. You're also going to write a mission statement that help you to be able to design your project that is inspirational, organized, and successful. At the same time, you're going to define your core values and the values that you want your team to come together with. And I'll talk about that team in a moment. So what are core values? Well, core values are the fundamental beliefs of a person or organization. And these are guiding principles that dictate behavior and can help people understand the difference between right and wrong. And one of the things that core values does is it helps teams determine if they're on the right path in fulfilling their goals as they create a guide. Your core values are like an unwavering guide of what you want to make sure happens and that you stay with as a team. And then you're going to plan a speech about your vision and you're going to present it in your club. And then you're going to go and meet. This will be the second time you meet with your guidance committee, and you're going to review your plan and speech with them before you present to your club. And then you go ahead and present that speech. So the next thing you need to do is come up with your team. And this section is about winning commitment with that team. This is the team that make your vision and mission come to life. The members of the committee are the worker bees of your project and the ultimate measure of your project's success. This is the team that you'll be leading. This is where you'll develop those leadership skills as you lead this team. During the process, you'll work on your ability to be a team leader through delegation, planning, conflict resolution, and many other leadership skills that you'll be developing as you go through the high performance leadership project. And one of the things that makes a good leader is the ability to persuade others to see, understand, and believe in their vision. One of the things you'll be doing with your team is developing an action strategy to where you're taking your vision of what you want to do and you're going to come up with a strategy or a plan on how to go through this, how to make it happen. You're going to identify key result areas, key things that must happen for your project to be successful. And then you're going to set goals and deadlines for each. Because it's one of the things that makes a good leader is when you set goals and establish priorities and delegate responsibility as necessary to each of the team members. And then from there, you create an action plan. So the next step is actually working the plan. Each time you meet with your team, the team that you're leading, you're going to review the progress against the action plan, and you're going to identify and overcome any areas. You want to catch these early. If there's any problems that are coming about, you want to grab them early and either overcome them or maybe change the plan if it's just not going to work out. If it's just maybe it's something in the plan that can't happen, maybe something has gotten in the way of one of the steps or one of the things that you've identified as part of that plan. This is a big part of leadership development, handling interpersonal conflicts. Anytime you get together a group of 2 or more people, if you're meeting constantly, you're going to have conflict. If you think you're not, you're kidding yourself. That's part of leadership development, is learning how to handle those interpersonal conflicts. And something you might think about, if this is a skill that you need to develop, we all know people that are going to be problematic. They're going to cause conflicts. And if you want to really test yourself and give yourself a chance to grow and say you need to develop this skill for your professional life, you might purposely choose someone to bring in that you can work on doing that. It's a stretch goal, but it's possible that it can help you because it's about developing leadership skills. Whenever you meet with the group, you're going to reevaluate the overall plan to decide if you need to make changes. It's like when companies create, say, a 1-year or a 5-year vision of where the company's going. They always have to change the plans. They never happen the way you expect. And then you're going to get feedback from this team. Just as you're looking for feedback from your mentors, from your guidance committee, you also want feedback from the team that you're leading about how things are going as far as your leadership. Are you really leading them? Or maybe you're managing rather than leading. And then you're going to reassess your leadership skills. So you could look at and see how you're doing from the feedback that you got from them. Maybe you need to change a little bit about what you're doing as a leader. And then next you'll be analyzing and presenting your results. This is after you've gone through the entire project. Now, the beauty of the high performance leadership is that you don't have to have a successful project to be successful. I know that sounds insane. It doesn't seem to make any sense, but it's true. It was about developing leadership skills, not about the project itself. And that's what you want to go into this with. So many members go into it about the project and they focus so much on the project, they forget about what you're really going into this for, and that's to develop leadership skills. So if the project is successful, you can discuss why you believe it was. If the project didn't have the desired result, you can discuss this with your team and with your guidance committee and talk about what went wrong and what were some leadership lessons that were learned from this process. Because ultimately the goal of the HPL was to learn more about yourself as you work with others. So you're going to analyze your final results of your project, and you're going to meet with your guidance committee to review this and to get their feedback on what went well, what could you have changed. It's a time for you to be really honest about where things went, what went well, what could have gone better, what could you have learned from this as a leader. And then you're going to present your project as a 5 to 7 minute speech to your club. So with everything that you're doing, you realize you're doing 2 speeches. One at the beginning to present what your vision is, what you're looking for, what your project's about, what your vision, the various things that you're looking at with that. And then how did it all go? What did you learn in your journey as a leader? So the important thing to realize, it's not easy. And you need to plan for this. Just as I mentioned, so many people rush it at the end because they want to get to their DTM. You don't really want to rush this. It's not easy to do if you put everything into it. It's designed to be challenging. It's not easily completed, and you get out of it what you put in. If you rush through it, you're not going to get much out of it. It's kind of like if all your speeches, if you're writing them on your, the day that you're presenting them at your club, which I think many of us know members who do that. Maybe you've caught yourself doing it. You're not really getting the most out of your speech development, out of your presentation skills. You're just getting through that speech. So it's whatever you put into it, that's what you're going to get out. And this quote is directly out of the HPL manual itself. And it says, only when the participant is stretched to complete each project will learning take place. And that is so true. If you rush through this, and if you rush through the process, you're not really going to learn. And unfortunately, so many people do that. They make it about the project, not about the learning process, not about the leadership development. So what makes a good project? That's a question I get whenever I give this presentation as a stand-up. It's the biggest question I get is, well, what about this project? What about that project? Well, it can be almost anything as long as you do these 2 things that follow. You will lead a team. Remember, it's not about the project. It's about leading a team. And it provides you the opportunity to develop your leadership skills. So what makes it a good project is you leading a team and you have the opportunity and you've taken the time and you've set your mind at developing leadership skills. So you see some examples here. Starting a club, that's a big one. Chairing an event, might be chairing a contest. We're just about done with the contest season, but you might think about next spring or some other event. Some people say, why would doing a contest, chairing a contest, be good HPL? That's so easy. Well, it depends if you've done it before. And have you led a team doing it, or did you do it all yourself, which quite often is what happens. So these are some examples. You can do things outside of Toastmasters. All the projects don't have to be within Toastmasters. Surprisingly, I've gotten through the entire slide deck. This usually takes about 45 minutes to go through. I think it's a little more interactive when I'm actually with a group. So I'm going to open up everybody's microphones in case any of you have questions about what I covered.
Ken, this is Kylie. I don't know that I have any questions for you at the moment, but thank you for the info. I'm trying to sort of get my head around the project I want to do and what's involved. Mm-hmm. I do like that you outlined that it's that it's not necessarily the successful project so much as it is the kind of process of getting there. So I'm more interested in knowing how we go about pulling together a team. It seemed I actually was in transit and then I lost you guys there for a bit. It sounded like you said we did a speech at the beginning.
As far as
to our own club, are we trying to pull our own club members into this? How do we sort of pull a team together?
It's pulling a team together. You don't have to hit your own, everybody in your own club. I gave the example of doing a contest, say an area contest. Well, an area contest, if you pull together your whole club to do it, it really becomes the club's contest rather than being. I'm going to go ahead and mute some of the other mics because we've got a lot of noise in the line. If you do an area contest and everybody on your team or on your committee are members of your club, it becomes a club contest. It doesn't become the area contest. So you'd want to look at pulling in members from all the clubs. So it doesn't have to just be your club. And they don't have to, you may have missed this, they don't all just have to be Toastmasters. You could even bring in members of someone, say, that you work with. In fact, you could look at doing a project at work, a work project to where your team members don't have to be Toastmasters. It doesn't have to be about Toastmasters at all, except for your guidance committee. You at least need a few of the members of the guidance committee to be Toastmasters, experienced Toastmasters, so they can give you feedback on that leadership development part.
Sure, you don't want to be inundated with project ideas, but I am thinking of doing a full speech contest, and I'd actually like my HPL to be a district contest, so not just an area level or not a division level, but a full district contest. So how do I go about reaching, through D4TM? Do I go through the leadership committee? Like, how do I get how do I pull people together for that?
All
just
right.
People I know, I'm trying to think.
Well, right. The first thing I would recommend is we're getting ready for a new term. I believe they've got everything covered for the upcoming conference, but if you could wait a year, because that'll be the next time there's a district conference, you would work with the quality director. Right.
The other thing I wanted to ask too, can I do this in conjunction with someone else doing an HPL? Can both of us use the same project? So I was like, this is kind of a big ask.
Right.
Can two people do the same project and get it signed off?
Well, I
just think if I was to find another Toastmaster who wanted to do this, then this might be easier to sort of extend our networks and get a better team behind us.
I think if you would look at it, maybe dividing your teams so you're both leading different groups at least. Maybe if you do this, look at, so what are some of the committees you'd need and break it up, and then each of you lead a different committee.
Right. Okay, that's good advice.
Because if you're sharing the leadership, I don't know how much you're going to develop for yourself.
Yeah.
Okay. Any more questions around HPL?
Oh, I wanted to address the kind of Kali, what you said about co-leading. And I think Ken is right. Basically, you would treat this, think about the conference, right? So there's the conference chair, and the conference chair could be their HPL, but then the conference chair has a bunch of committees, and the committee chairs could be different HPLs.
Yes, definitely.
You could basically structure it that way.
Right. I was just saying you don't want to make it that you've got, say, a team of 10 people and both of you are leading that same team. You want to kind of divide it up somehow. Other questions? So I thank you all, and you have a great evening. Take care.
Thanks, Ken.
Thank you.
Okay. Good night.